All right, so I've got my document set up more or less. And what it is it's the articles. So I've taken the articles from these three websites, I've copied them and pasted them, and I've got them in here. Another thing that I added to this are the main ideas, and where I got the main ideas, you can get them a couple places. So I'm actually going to go and look at the um, what the steps in the slideshow. So we're doing these three steps. You have to summarize the articles in ways that are easy to compare. Then you have to compare them. And then you have to sort those parts in a way that will help you write your essay. So right now we're just setting up, we're sorting our ideas so that we're going to be able to summarize the articles in ways that are easy to compare. Because right now, if we just look at the articles, it's going to be kind of difficult to sort out what's common among them. So right now we're kind of taking them apart. We're making it so we can kind of take them apart and rearrange them and like kind of analyze and find the like spots that are going to be easier to compare. So what we've got to do is we've got to annotate, understand. So hopefully what you've been doing these past couple of weeks is understanding the articles, using the assignments to go through them, understand them. And one of those big reasons is that the 475 points of your grade rely upon your understanding these articles correctly. So the final, all your drafts are paper 3, rely on that. So, and how we're doing that is I'm going through that process right now. So we're making notes based on like the close reading assignments, answers to the week 10 comprehension check, um, looking at the main idea, keywords, summarizing the paragraphs, check answers with responses from the March 24th class poll, quiz due on April 4th. So this thing, you're thinking about everything that you know about the articles and kind of bringing it together and sorting it so that it's going to be easier to go through that information. So that's what we're doing right now. That's why I've created this document that has the main ideas, which if you want those main ideas, you can get them from the email that I sent out for week 10. Looks like, do I have a date on this one? Okay, yeah, this one went out March 27th. So you can go to the bottom of the email, and then I copied the 3 different main ideas there. Those were in the poll, and if you watch the video and go through them, which I talk about the poll, then you can watch that video and find out which is the correct answer. And so we've got the main ideas, these 3 main ideas. So which article focuses on trends from the past 100 years? They explain the economic situation in the United States, which features a smaller chance of moving up in class and larger gaps between the wealthy and the poor. That is going to be The Economist. And then which article focuses on the author's working class upbringing is an example of how intelligence, class, and one's perception of their social status can be very different, and that is going to be Locke. Um, and then we've got which article focuses on a call to action that taxes need to be increased to improve economic outlooks for more Americans, so there's increased economic mobility and less class stratification. So, and that is going to be Iglesias. So you've got your main ideas there, which is kind of nice. If you want to like do some color coding or something like that, that can be helpful, or you don't have to, whatever works best for you. And then we've got the 3 articles here. And what I've got also I've got the close reading assignments. And the reason that I'm interested in these is because they're going to help us with they're going to help us kind of go through and like point to the main ideas. Actually, let's look at why. So the close reading assignments point to main ideas and also ideas that students get confused about. So we really want it for the important ideas, and then also like to kind of check our comprehension. All right, so I've got these. I'm going to go ahead and X out of the article since I've copied them and I don't need them anymore. So right now, we're doing this first part. So we're reading and understanding each art, or annotating and understanding each article. So we're trying to find, looking at the different questions, looking at the main ideas, looking at the paragraphs, and trying to find like keywords and phrases. So again, keywords and phrases from each main idea, keywords and phrases next to each paragraph in an article, and keywords or phrases next to each question in the close reading assignments. So write your, and then you're going to like try and write in an easy way, in a way it's easy to compare your keywords and phrases. So let's try and go through an example where let's think about like the Locke reading. And we're gonna just, actually, I'm gonna do The Economist. So The Economist. So when we look at this main idea, what are some, like if we can kind of think about like what are going to be some like keywords that come out of this. And I'm gonna maybe put something like history, that, or you can kind of uh, you know, think about like maybe it'll say it in in the actual text, or maybe you have to write it, and then you can maybe like highlight it or something. um so let's see. History, I think I'm going to say gaps between the wealthy and the poor um are an important part. Less social mobility. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Those are some of the key words that kind of jump out to me here. So then, and then let's go to the actual Economist article and think about what are some keywords that come from that. So we've got the first paragraph talks about American Idol and Carrie Underwood from American Idol, and then Bill Rancic from The Apprentice, and the idea of, I think, we've got the American dream. So that's going to be, I think, a really important um, idea. Working hard, and, if you want to underline it, so so that way that you have it for later. But, just kind of store that in your mind, like the American dream is sort of this example. And remember that what you're going to be doing is writing an article, or you're going to be writing an essay that talks about the topic of social inequality. So you might come back to these specific examples, but these might be too detailed to really come back to really be something that you're going to use in your writing. You might, but I think what's important are these like big ideas, these American dreams, because if you have it too specific, it's going to be hard to compare articles. But if it's more general, then it's going to be a little easier to compare articles. So we've got, again, kind of some history about, Benjamin Franklin, Bill Clinton, and then we've got this idea of a decline in social mobility would run counter to America's deepest beliefs about their country. Unfortunately, that is what seems to be happening. Class is reappearing in a new form. So I'm going to say that like this decline in social mobility is probably like um, even though it says like, oh, that would be bad, but then they say, but that's what appears to be happening. So what we've got is this decline in social mobility. I think that's kind of the thing that jumps out at me, is what's happening right now. Um, so next we've got this third paragraph. So for a quarter century after the Second World War, income growth in America was fairly even spread, according to the Study of Economic Policy Institute. Okay, I'm just gonna scanning through it. And so here we've got this like paragraph that if you're reading it for the first time, it might feel like it's a little hard to read through. So what one thing you can do is that you've got these links to the different documents. And this was the comprehension check. This were the questions that I gave out week 10. that everyone had to answer a question. And we've got the statistics here where it's broken down into kind of an easier way to understand. So let's see if we've got, that's the close reading. Where's the statistic? Oh, here we go, making sense of statistics. So here we've got the these different, here's what it's saying, like the bottom 20% of people own this much wealth, the top 20% own this much wealth. So, and that's how it's changed from 1970 to 1995. So, you know, maybe that's something that could be a little bit difficult to like let's see if there's one sentence that like kind of like encapsulates that. So, and if not, we can kind of write our own. So, and, you know, I'm not really seeing much, so I might say something that income inequality has increased. Rich are richer, poor are poorer. So, that can be an idea that, you know, kind of comes out. So we've got this from the, so far, just reading these 3 paragraphs. So what I would say at this point is a good thing to do is we've already got, you know, a few keywords that we want to think about. So let's go ahead and put those keywords in this document right here. So we've got American Dream. So this is where we're just focusing on one article each. And let me see, I'm going to go to, all right, got these gaps between the wealthy and the poor, history, less social mobility. So, and one thing that's going to, I think kind of come up is that like we're going to find some redundancy. So right here we've already got, you know, less social mobility, decline in social mobility. So we can delete like one of these. We don't have to like really keep both of them. But one thing that's going to be helpful is if we can put where we found it, so that that way when we're going back and like looking through all our information, we can find this information. So American Dream, paragraph 1. These came from our summaries of the from the, what is it, the main idea. So it probably shows up somewhere in the article and we're just not sure where. Let's go ahead and look, because we've got one more thing that we wanted to highlight. So income inequality has increased, richer, richer, poorer, poorer. And then let's go back to part 1. Okay, so one thing is the gaps between the wealthy and the poor. So that's kind of like the same thing. So we can delete one of these. I'll delete that one, and then I'll just say this is in paragraph 3. So we already have some ideas, and I keywords, and like, you know, we've gotten, you know, some of this is, you know, a couple of these are repeated from our main idea, which is fine. But now we have kind of quotes for them, or kind of paragraphs that we can refer to for them, which will be helpful. And then the other thing that we can do is we can refer to the close reading exercise. So we've got these questions that ask about different paragraphs, and we can kind of think about like, okay, so what are they getting at? What are the keywords that we can use to put in our columns, so that that way we have some of these ideas. So let's go ahead, and I've got, you know, what makes America unusual? Explain the following metaphor. If America is a ladder, the rungs have been moved further apart. So it's a little bit tricky, like we may not be exactly sure. So you might want to look at your answers, you might want to look at the text. what I know, what I can remember from this is, let's go ahead and copy these and take them into this document. Here's paragraph 4. I'm going to just copy these questions so that that way we're thinking about like, what are the important parts of this? This makes America unusual. So, all right, what makes America unusual? So what we can see is that America began to diverge. So America has the increased gap between the wealthy and the poor. If America is a ladder, the rungs have been moved farther apart. So even compared to other countries, you know, the United States has this bigger gap between the wealthy and the poor. So again, income inequality has increased. And then I'm going to say, like, this is, you know, this is kind of repeating the idea that was in paragraph 3, that was in our main idea. So even when compared to similar countries, para 4. All right, so there you can see that we've got a few different ideas already, just from looking at a few paragraphs, looking at one of the sets, a couple of questions from the close reading exercise. So do something like that process for your for the rest of the readings, for the rest of the articles, and that way you'll end up with a whole table full of the keywords and the ideas that each article discusses. So take a few minutes, do that, and then we'll come back and I'll walk you through part 2.